Alright mates, how's it going? In today's video, episode 4 of Beyond the Dark Portal by Aaron Rosenberg and Christie Golden. Fair warning, Illyria says some real nasty shit and becomes a little bit unlikable in this chapter. But it's in the book. Don't blame me or start accusing me of being sexist or something. Let's go!
Rats.
Beg your pardon?
Rats.
You sent word of an issue with wildlife, Gelbin, threatening to derail the entire tram construction project. Did you just say rats?
Yes. Horrible things they are. Some of them are this big.
I think Gelbin Mechatork spread his hands a whole 6 inches apart, and Turalyon stared at him in utter bafflement. Had this little asshole seriously called an emergency session over a rat problem? The gnomes had come to Stormwind a few years back, with full endorsement from the dwarves, and they were a curious bunch. Intelligent, eccentric, small. That's about it. They have nothing else going for them.
They've completely infested the prototype. Chewed through the wiring. We can't get in to repair it without losing good people to those vile creatures. The last team we sent in, there was nothing left of them.
Turalyon nodded, even if that was the most ridiculous thing he'd ever heard. I guess rats are proportionately much larger and more threatening to your people than they are to mine. I'll send some of my men back to Ironforge with you. They'll, hunt these monsters down and help you with repairs.
Thank you. That's excellent news. The tram will be back on track in a jiffy.
Go speak to Aramil. He'll take care of the arrangements. It was kind of awkward as Gelbin tried to climb back down from the table, and Turalyon wasn't sure if it was appropriate to help him or not. But eventually, the High Tinker did get down and buggered off, and Turalyon turned his attention to all the correspondence sat on his desk. Letters, a buttload of them, from countless people all wanting something from him. And it was in that moment that Turalyon decided he really needed to go for a walk or something. As he stepped out into the fresh, clean air, Turalyon took in the sights around him. The Dwarven district. White walls and red roofs. Many of Bronzebeard's men had been housed here, as a thanks for all their hard work and assistance and stuff. He then made his way across the canal to Cathedral Square, and fixed his eyes on the glorious building at the centre. It was one of the first to be completed in Stormwind's reconstruction. The Orcs had damaged it badly in their attack, but even still, it had been a place of safety for so many. Turalyon had not been to Stormwind prior to the Second War, so he'd not seen the city's former glory, but in comparison to the horrific state it had been left in after the war, it was pretty impressive now. Turalyon had been so lost in thought he didn't notice the pair of children until they ran right into his balls. Sorry, mister. With an attack like that, you'll make a fine soldier one day.
Really? I hope so, sir. I want to kill some orcs.
Turalyon's smile faltered. He knew that fiery need and anger, but he wasn't about to encourage racism in a child. Go on. Light bless you both. But you should get home. Looks like rain.
Thanks, Mr. Paladin.
The kids ran off into a building adjacent to the cathedral, the orphanage, and Turalyon sighed with empathy, before moving on with his life and entering the cathedral itself. And inside, he found Uther, as well as a bunch of other Knights of the Silver Hand, tending to homeless people and babies. Good to see you, brother. About time you found your way down here. You're right, Uther. It's nice to be here. It's too easy to get caught up in all the things that need to be done but can never quite be finished. Like rat problems. Eh? Never mind. I'll tell you later. For now, how can I help? However, Uther's eyes narrowed slightly as he glanced over Turalyon's shoulder. Looks like there's a bit more unfinished business waiting for you, mate. Turalyon turned and immediately tensed. Oh geez. Lightbringer? General? Oh, so that's how she was going to play it, was it? Fine. Ranger? What brings you here? Tidings. Of the worst sort. Little else would. Turalyon felt a muscle twitch in his cheek, and pray deliver them. I wonder if I did not come to the wrong place for aid. Didn't expect to find generals, knights and holy warriors tending to babies in a church. We serve where we're called, Illyria. I feel certain you didn't come all the way here just to insult us. Speak. A short time ago, I met with Khadgar and several of the Alliance leaders. Seems there's a dimensional rift where the Dark Portal once stood. Khadgar believes that very soon, orcs, possibly an entire second horde, could come through again. He sent me here on Griffinback to inform you. Alleria continued to repeat what she'd learned, and not for the first time, Turalyon found himself wishing Lothar was still around. He basically felt that way every time he faced a difficult decision. Lothar would know immediately what to do. Well, what say the Wildhammers on all this? What does Kurtrin think? I doubt he knows. What? You flew all this way on one of their griffins without informing him of what was going on." Illyria just kind of shrugged, and Turalyon found himself fighting extremely hard to maintain his composure. "What? Do you need the dwarves to give you instruction? Or perhaps you're waiting for Lothar's ghost?" At that, Turalyon frowned, and colour rose in Illyria's cheeks as her eyes glanced down to the floor. She knew that she'd just taken things too far. The Wildhammers have been staunch allies. They're as much a part of the Alliance as anyone. I'll see to it that they're informed as soon as possible. We need to go immediately. The griffin will bear you to Lordaeron. I'll make my own way there. Couldn't even stand to share a griffin with him then. So be it. Turalyon then turned to Uther, who was currently staring daggers at Illyria Windrunner. But the Lightbringer then glanced at Turalyon, nodded, and buggered off. "You are bringing the members of your order, right?" "No." "Why not?" "The Archbishop wishes them to stay here. Tend to the people who need them." "You haven't even asked him." "I don't need to ask, Illyria. Look, can we just talk for a bit? We should 5 minutes, Illyria. That's all I'm asking." Now it was Illyria's turn to frown. Turalyon noticed that she was actually trembling, but that could well be because she got caught in the rain and was soaked. "I wrote. You never answered. I've been travelling. On patrol. There were rumours of orcs hiding out among the peaks of the Alterac Mountains." A grim smile then formed on Illyria's face. "We found 10 of them." "Illyria, you owe me nothing. I understand that. If what happened between us means you can no longer work with me, I need to know. The Alliance cannot afford to find out on the battlefield that you're not listening. Do you have a problem with that?" "There's no problem. The Alliance wants every orc dead. So do I. We can work together on that. Is that all we are to you now? A means to an end? A way to kill more orcs more quickly? What else is there? The sooner we reach Lordaeron, the sooner I can seek out more of those green-skinned abominations and cleanse this land of their filth. I will see them dead. Every last one of them. Even if it takes me 100 years. A number of heads had started to turn within the church, mainly because this wasn't exactly an inside-a-church type of conversation to be having. "Illyria, you're talking genocide." Another smile appeared on Illyria's face, this one cruel. "It's only genocide when those being slain are people." Yikes. It was very obvious that Illyria genuinely believed that. She saw the orcs as nothing more than monsters. As rats. Sure, Turalyon had killed his fair share of them, sometimes even with great anger in his heart at what they'd done to his people. But that was justice. This was something else. "You've lost much." A human, talking of loss. What do you know of it? Your lives are so brief you never learn what it means to truly love someone. Just because you live longer doesn't mean you feel more, Illyria. Trust me. "Oh, so you're better than me because you lived for this long? Or are you better than me because of your precious light? The light isn't mine. It's everyone's. It's about healing. It's..." "Oh, don't start preaching, Turalyon. Your holy light didn't stop the orcs from tearing away into our world, did it? The light can't restore my ravaged homeland. Or give me back my..." Illyria snapped her jaw shut and just kind of stood seething for a bit. "Ranger, here are my orders. For the moment, you'll stay here in Stormwind along with half of my troops and myself. Send for your rangers. Have them gather here. This city's only just started to get its feet underneath it. I won't leave it unprotected." "So we're just going to wait out the war here, sir? Like cowards, sir?" "I will request reinforcements, and when they come, we'll leave. But until then, we stay. You'll protect the city when it's your own then." "Right. Permission to leave, to gather my rangers, sir?" Illyria was intentionally trying to get under Turalyon's skin, and she was succeeding. The only reason he wasn't being just as hostile and snide back was because he truly wanted to find a way to help her. Her anger and hatred was consuming her. She'd changed, and he'd do anything to help her get back to her old nice self, rather than this mean angry bitch. The paladin then realised he'd just been staring at her for quite a while, so he nodded, and Illyria buggered off. Was he making the right decision? Was it wise to wait for reinforcements? Yes. Meanwhile, Illyria went ahead and ran right out of Stormwind as quickly as she could. She didn't give a shit how weird she looked. She just needed out of there fast. That had gone much worse than she'd feared. How was it a mere human could rattle her so much? He was a jerk. A rude, loud jerk. But also he was glorious and handsome and... No! Shut up, heart! Illyria thought. She then clenched her eyes shut and thought of her home and her sisters and Lirath, her youngest brother. Such a joyful, smiley bloke he'd been. He'd loved being alive. But the orcs slaughtered him. Snuffed out his brightness. And the world was darker because of it. They would pay. They would suffer. Just as Lirath had. Just as her city had. And her people. And once again, Illyria vowed to not let Turalyon get in the way of her mission. All he would do is soften her heart and stop her from getting her revenge.
Make haste. This isn't a vacation.
Turalyon had given Danath Trollbane, his second in command, the opportunity to select those that would be joining him on the mission to Netherguard Keep. And he picked mostly cavalry units, because they were used to travelling long distances and stuff. However, they were all still pretty young and pretty green.
Thank you for drafting me, sir. I wouldn't miss this fight for anything. You've not faced orcs before, have you, Farrell?
No, sir.
But I'm looking forward to it.
I'm not.
You're not, sir? Why? We're going to trample them, aren't we? I heard there's not even that many of them left, riding in the woods like wild animals. That's true for the ones that got left behind, but that's not what we're dealing with. I think the Dark Portal's going to reopen, lad.
The soldier gulped at that revelation, and Danath went ahead and raised his voice even louder, so the rest of the soldiers could hear him as well.
We won't be facing a ragtag group of orc survivors, boy. We'll be facing the Horde, possibly the largest fighting force you've ever seen, one that's never been defeated.
But we won the war, sir.
We conquered them already. We conquered some. For all we know, there's another dozen or so clans we've never even faced, just waiting for their chance to have a crack at us. We could well be heading towards our death here, boys. Sir, why are you telling us this? Because I don't believe in lying about our chances. You've a right to know what you'll be facing, and I don't want you going in thinking this will be easy. Expect the worst. Stay sharp. That little nugget's going to keep you alive, and you truly will be able to call yourselves the Sons of Lothar.
All of the men nodded and looked a hell of a lot more sober now. Not that they were pissed before, but, sober, as in serious and sensible and stuff.
Listen. Do you hear that?
You're getting jumpy, William. It's just the wind. Chill out.
Yeah, guess you're right. I hate this detail, Randall. Why they got us guarding this anyway? Get the mages to do it.
Dunno, mate. But hey, it's an easy job.
Our shift's over in an hour.
William then started to say something else, but stopped, his eyes wide.
There it was again. Listen.
Randall did as he was told and strained his ears, and then he did indeed hear the thing that was getting William all worked up. It was like a low moan, followed by a high whistle, and as the two of them turned to look at the empty space where the rift between worlds had once stood, they crapped themselves and immediately cheesed it. They ran as fast as they could through the darkness, desperate to escape what they'd just seen, but also trying to get to relative safety in order to sound an alarm, so they weren't being complete cowards. However, both stopped as they heard the sound of footsteps approaching.
Who goes there? Boo.